But just like we've seen with our parents, what happens next? Because support services end if they don't go to college. You know, a lot of our families that are used to having either, ABA, speech therapy, OT, all these exemplary services that come in on top of education. But our kids, just like the 12-year-old that had never used a knife before coming to us. Those are the things I want to discuss because I want to bring it to the forefront of our parents' minds. Hi, friends and family, and welcome back to Pam and the Purple Couch podcast. Today, we're going to talk about what happens when we're ending high school. What happens when we are not college bound, when we're not military bound? Where do our kids go? What type of life skills is high school, junior high actually preparing our kids for? Are they ready for the workforce when they leave high school? Well, today on the Purple Couch podcast, we're going to talk about some of the strategies you can put into place and some of the things that our kids need that we have to start thinking about as parents and caregivers. So come on back to the Purple Couch podcast today, and we're going to talk about what happens after high school. So, Pat, you get to see that a lot. This is what you deal with. This is our high school here. And most of the time, our kids, when they're coming in, we are, number one, finding where their true academic levels are. But we're also in this building looking at not just the academic components of high school. We start looking in life skills. Are they prepared? That means budgeting, checkbooks, moms and dads, credit card offers, things that all of these kids that we see as soon as they turn 18 start to be solicited for, but they don't have the skill set. They haven't even been exposed to it. And most of the times when we've seen the kids that come in, we're starting to talk to them about, well, where do you want to go? What do you want to do? What is some of the biggest things you've seen on the entry level of our junior, senior high students when they get to us?
So what is the biggest thing I see as a need for going
Some
forward
of
in
the
the workforce?
deficits, because I think moms and dads, they get so focused on academics. Loki is a big one who's like, everybody wants A's and B's. But we have to also look at we talk about the holistic child. So a lot of times we've focused as parents, and I did this too, which was making sure that they were successful in school. But just like we've seen with our parents, what happens next? Because support services end if they don't go to college. You know, a lot of our families that are used to having either, ABA, speech therapy, OT, all these exemplary services that come in on top of education. But our kids, just like the 12-year-old that had never used a knife before coming to us. Those are the things I want to discuss because I want to bring it to the forefront of our parents' minds because they're so, from the time the child is 5, 6 years old, then indoctrinated into the education program, it is ABCs. What are you doing? What is your grade? What's your GPA before you graduate? Where are you going to go to school? Where's college going to be? What career do you want to be? But we have literally stopped teaching them how to live independently. And so that's what I want to get at. What are some of those deficits that you see that the current education system hasn't even touched with our students?
Right. So let's use our family as an example then. So
Okay.
Loki, perfect. So we're not talking about school. We're talking about as our demographic got older in this school, we found the need for what are they doing in the community? Can they get jobs? And if they get jobs, can they hold a job for more than a day or two?
Correct.
So using Loki as an example, as we often do on this podcast, even though it's my first time, I am a big fan. I've seen every podcast. So getting Loki a job. So we went out one Saturday. I went and found what places were hiring. We went to a local sub shop.
Yep.
And just for that example right there, he went in and I could tell it was taking too long. So I texted him. I was like, I was just sitting in the car. He came back out to the car with the job application. So with our demographic, handwriting's a huge issue.
Yes.
I know most things are done online. Still, this one was done in person. They wanted him to come in person. So he couldn't really fill out. He didn't know all the questions. One thing we run into, what I have our students do all the time, what's your social security number? Do you know what that is?
Oh.
That's something that you have to know for the rest of your life. And oftentimes it's just a blank stare when I say social security number. And we're talking anywhere from 11-year-olds to 20-year-olds when I say social security number. And it's just, so that was something like to fill out a job
as a
application,
parent.
you have to do that.
I never thought about that with Loki. I was too worried about, do you know your address? Do you know your phone number? Can you drive? Are you not going to Uber everywhere? Because our generation didn't have Uber or Lyft. We were waiting to get behind the wheel of a car to get out of our house to explore. But today, our kids don't want to do that. So even getting the job, like you were talking about, getting them out of the house takes prompting. So social security number, that's another thing, guys. I didn't think about it. And here I am sitting here on the couch, and I didn't think about those things with my son. So what are some of the other things? And preparing for the interview of a job. I know you do an entire thing here with our high schoolers, getting them ready, filling out the application, just like you said with the social. But how about job skills themselves?
Dealing with customers, interacting, being appropriate. Big thing with this generation, and obviously, even adults, obviously, but on the phone, putting your phone up every day. That's a struggle. This new year, we really started enforcing that, is putting your phone up into your cubby, having it assigned. The phone is the biggest hindrance, I think. And then with that comes escapism. Our kids love to escape, and that goes to the job force too. So they'll try to take more breaks. They'll say they have to go to the bathroom. We just had incidents this Saturday on your birthday of escapism.
Yes.
A boy using the bathroom 3 to 4 times
right.
in a 40-minute period.
Yeah.
And then we got home, and yet there was a task to do when we got home, and there was another bathroom break. It's amazing how many times that boy had to use the bathroom that day. So those type of things. So we try to get them to, it's okay to use a break, but I'll let you use my office. I'll let you do whatever you want. Don't go hide in the bathroom. You can't be hiding in bathrooms. Those type of things of just, you can advocate for yourself in a different way.
Yes. Yes, and I think that is a really good one, because we talked about what's the function of behavior families. And so the hiding in a bathroom, that happens a lot in our neurotypical and neurodivergent, because it is the cell phone addiction. And the detachment of the cell phone can cause meltdowns. Why? Because this is an addiction to the cell phone. Think about how many parents, adults, you watching this podcast, how many times have you looked at your cell phone on the drive to work? In Florida, we've got new laws that went into effect on July 1st. So now cell phones in the school is a no-go, period, across the board, statewide. We also have a new law that if you are driving and you have your cell phone, it's an immediate suspension of your license if you're using your cell phone in the car. So it has hit such a dependency that we even have our nation making laws now to protect us. But our kids are the generation, and I think about it in schools, and going all the way down to early intervention. We have kids that are coming in at 2 or 3 years old already. I need my iPad. I want mommy's cell phone. So by the time they're 16, 17, 18, this is truly an addiction. And so I didn't even think about that until you mentioned it, is when you're working in the workforce, dropping the cell phone, setting it down. We've got to start doing this at home, guys, whether it is you simply telling them no cell phones at the dinner table, or a complete time block in your house where there's no electronics, whether it's you go back to playing board games, or you go outside on a family walk. But there has to be some initiative, and it has to start at home, because the school can reinforce that for you. But you as a parent have got to also be doing it at home. Otherwise, when the school steps in, when the workplace steps in, the student, the young adult, isn't prepared. And then we could see the breakdown. We could see whether it is escape, where, okay, well, if I mouth off, you're going to fire me, and I get to go home and I get to sit back on my phone. And I know that it sounds really harsh talking this out loud, but I think it's a universal, systematic. It doesn't matter if you're in China. It doesn't matter if you're in Dubai. It doesn't matter if you're in the United States. I think this is a global issue that we're all having with the dependency of our electronics. And when I say electronics, I don't want it just to be, oh, well, he doesn't have a cell phone. Because I've gotten that feedback from parents. Oh, well, he doesn't have a cell phone. I don't, really? Okay, well, just because you're giving him the old cell phone that doesn't have an active service is still an addiction to the electronic. Exactly.
If you're not the cell phone, it's a tablet or a computer or whatever you're streaming.
Some type of electronic
It's something.
device.
It's not like, oh my gosh, they're into nature. You never hear that.
Yeah, they can't wait to go out to the docker. Yeah.
And then I just wanted to touch when you brought up the driving thing.
Yes.
So that's another thing with the generation is the lack of wanting to drive. I had a parent meeting. 2 days ago and literally the incentive is to graduate, I will buy you a car. I will buy you and I'm not talking like a car that I had that had no power steering and like, hey, this is a car he's getting and still just,
No incentive to do so.
Don't want to do it. Don't want to drive.
Remember, we talked about Loki.
So I was talking to this student, and I told him it took us 4 years to get Loki to drive,
Yes.
but he's doing it now. So I was like, and this student also, he has his permit through us already. So
Okay.
we did the legwork. We got him his permit. So now he's in year 2 of the permit, and just no desire. And this is not an outlier. This is normal for
Correct.
our kids now.
Yes, and the other part is I want to make a really clear explanation here, or I don't know, statement. This isn't just neurodivergent families. These are neurotypical children. At our high school, we have about 40% are autism spectrum disorder, but the rest of our student population in our high school is ADHD, ADD, anxiety, stress. They didn't fit in an environment when they tried a neurotypical high school. They might have had blue hair. They might have had a gender issue. They're not sure where they want to be, but they just didn't fit in the robot system of the public school. So they're here. So I need you all to understand, we are not just talking about neurodivergent children here. We're also talking about neurotypical kids. The amount of, ease in this generation now, because it goes Uber Eats, DoorDash, I don't know, what are the other one? Grubhub. I'm trying to give them, we're not sponsored by any, so I'm trying to give everybody
Not yet.
a little credit on these. But our kids have gotten so dependent, and so have the adults.
Sure. Everything's a finger tap away, and it's instantaneous. I mean, it's a cliche, but it really is. Everything is at the touch of your fingers, and it's instantaneous, and there's no accountability even for money then either, because it's just, I touch something,
Correct.
money's gone, and something's at my door. What did I really spend? But here's my food, and it's instant gratification.
Yes. And now that was the next piece that you just hit there is, I didn't even think about this. So you just, like Loki would say, you just blew my mind. All right, families, we'll be right back after this special message. Friends and family, are you looking for a place for your student to learn job skills? The prerequisites in order to even apply for a job? Well, that's why we created the Legacy Launchpad. We are going to teach your student job skills so that we can fill their resume before they even get started. Come on down and find out what job career solutions are available for your neurodivergent student. www.legacyhighschool.com. And now, back to the Purple Couch Podcast. When we were a cash-based society, I remember my mom, we'd be in the car with her when she'd pick us up, and then every Friday, this is like when you'd have to go to the bank, and you were trying to get to the bank before the bank closed on Friday, you took the cash out, and then that's what you had to spend before, and this is how budgets were created. But that goes right into play with what you said, is everything is immediate access. Our kids don't do budgets anymore.
Right.
They don't even understand the cash system.
To cut you off real quick, when you were introing and you said checkbook, so that was funny because I, as you know, I am my mom's son, and I am OCD, and I'm very old school in this. But
Yes.
So making fun of checkbooks, I had one in college, and I was made fun of ruthlessly because, not to out my age, but that was a long time ago, college. So, and I was being made fun of by my peers for as the only person that still had a checkbook because everything was digital.
Right.
So even that long ago. So when you said checkbook, I was like, I don't think people are using checkbooks anymore. But that goes to the concept of money, because money is not, when it's just on the thing and you can spend it like that, it's not as real as, like you said, when you had physical money in your hand and you had to part ways with it, and it was difficult.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But then that comes into, okay, well, wait a second. So we're not teaching budgeting.
Right.
We're not teaching that. We used to have, and we're talking about back in the day, but just like you were saying with the checkbook for you, we had finance class that was part of our home economics class, which was doing your budget for your house. It was understanding that there are taxes, that it wasn't just, oh, okay, well, this is $19.99. No, it's not just $19.99. Now you have sales tax that you have to add into it. But no one pays attention to that anymore because it's just a swipe or a tap at the register. That's all great and wonderful for convenience. But we still need to be teaching our children these conceptual skills, because what is happening, and we saw it at the house with Loki, as soon as he turned 18, He might have had the social emotional balance of a 15 and a half, 16-year-old, but credit card companies didn't know that. I can let you know we're throwing them away even now, is that all the credit card offers that come in. You are pre-approved for this, pre-approved for that. And then what we do is we have a cycle of a kid, if they're not being monitored, if they don't have a mom or dad that is filtering the mail for them or their email, and they end up getting these credit card offers. The next thing you know, they've got a credit card, they have debt, and before they're even in college or on their own, they already are in this world of consumer debt.
Right. And
because they didn't know anything.
Predatory loans with bad interest rates, and if they did know the mental capacity, they would probably be sending more. So it's
absolutely
right.
It's like, oh, you've just been selected to get $5,000.
Now it's $10,000.
Oh, that's
actually
great,
yeah.
Wonderful. And the kids are like, oh, but they just gave me $5,000. No, they loaned you $5,000 at 26%
right.
interest, and you're going to be paying this off for the next
rest
15
of your life.
Exactly. Right. And so we have to teach these concepts. And that has to start, if it's not at home, it must be in school. We have to facilitate. But like you mentioned, our generation of students right now, some of their parents, and I'm having a flashback, is because when I started teaching like the budgeting and finance class, checks, you brought up the thing, checks. We had some of our employees, our younger employees, that didn't know, and I'm talking about 22, 23-year-olds, didn't know how to write a check. And that's when we were doing HR benefits. We were like, oh, well, we need you to bring a voided check in. Same thing they said. Well, we don't use checks. Okay, well, you need a letter from the bank. But it's still a shift in understanding, how do we teach this? Whether it's the old school ledger, for a checkbook, or if it's for their debit card, or if it's for their allowance. We have to have some type of financial system, token economy system. That's where we call it a token economy, but it is a reward system. So it's kind of like back in the day when you did your chores. All right, well, you get $1 for doing the dishes, you get $1 for taking this out, so $5 a week for doing your chores. But then teaching, what does that look like? What is that budget system for a kid? Because then even I'm the guilty one. We didn't do an allowance because I told Loki point blank, if I give you an allowance, then it is no more, Mom, I need a Discord game, or Mom, I need some DLC, or Mom, I need this new video game. I'm like, no, because if I give you an allowance, then it's going to be you buying it with your own money. Instead, what we did was we took it as, you live in this house. This is your responsibility as you being a member of the house. So I mention that because depending on how the family has their household set up, you still need to teach that system to the child, because we so heavily reinforce our children without any expectations. And I think you see that a lot in the high school. I've seen it when it's like, what did you do? What did you do to get that? Oh man, that's a great new game system that you're carrying around. Was it your birthday? Oh no, Mom just gave it to me. No, we've got to, parents, we got to take a step back, because the level of expectation versus appreciation in this generation is just unheard of.
Yeah.
And again, it comes at home. So the reason it has to come from home is because we're not doing it in the school anymore. Budget cuts in public school system has gotten rid of our art system. It's gotten rid of the music system. Home economics, living skills just aren't being taught. But yet then we want to hinder the generation to say, well, why can't you live independently? Why can't you be more self-sufficient? They talk right now about AI taking the place of all of our consumer jobs. So I know here we started a workforce program. It goes into the effect fall of this year of 2025. Can you talk a little bit about some of the things we're going to be teaching our workforce kids? And I guess I should rewind. What that means, parents, is we saw the need. Just like with Loki, my little North Star there, when we realized that there were skill sets that we weren't even preparing our young adults with, whether it's junior, senior high, how to do the resume, how to handle a job interview, how to set up a budget, what to be looking for. And then even more so for our neurodivergent students, we saw that because they didn't have any work experience, they're being overlooked completely when it comes to their first jobs. So many of our kids took the steps like Loki, applied for the jobs, and then they don't get the call back. Why? Because they do have some tics, some quirks. And so we have to not only coach our kids, but we also have to coach some of our businesses in order for them to give opportunities. And since we saw there were no opportunities or businesses doing that in the forefront, that's why we started the workforce program. So can you tell them some of the skill sets that we're going to be teaching our kids so
Sure.
that they can go out there with a resume that says, I have experience doing this?
So like you said, with the lack of not so much jobs, but being able to keep the job in the community, we saw the need to build out our own program. So we started with the first thing that we're doing is
The freeze-dried candy.
the freeze-dried candy, which is
Well, hold on. Let's not just say candy. So
freeze-dry everything.
Yeah, everything. So we're calling it the Legacy Launchpad. And that goes from our Legacy High School to the Legacy Launchpad. And the Legacy Launchpad is our workforce program. Part of the workforce program, we started off with freeze-dried candy because it's good buy-in. All of our kids want to do freeze-dried candy. But then what we realized is, oh my goodness, you can do freeze-dried ice cream, freeze-dried vegetables. I mean, things that our kids that are sensory. Freeze-dry some broccoli. It's much easier to eat than when it's flippy and it's green and it's mushy and our kids won't do it. So that was one of the first things we did. But then your birthday came and we had that wonderful experience in Orlando doing the rug tufting. Rug tufting, guys. We are now teaching our workforce program how to rug tuft.
So that came up because I had to take over the art program, and I was always appreciative of art and loved art, but never actually able to do art. And then later in life, when I met my beautiful wife, and we would do art every weekend, and then I started doing art as a teacher. In my feed, all of a sudden, rug tufting got in my feed. So when my birthday came up, my wife said, we can go anywhere you want to go. Do you want to travel? And I said, I just want to go rug tufting, honestly. So we went one day for my birthday, and we did it, and it was bite-size, and it's literally, you can trace any image on a projector. Oh, there's an example.
There's a wonderful example.
And so middle of class, we realized this is something that not only is amazing and fun, but this is something that our kids can do, and that it's an artistic release, and it's doable, and it's bite-sized, and it's something they can sell in the community themselves. So this one I'm very excited about because I feel like this is a really good release, and it's also something that we can go to farmer market and sell ourselves. So the kids can go out in the community, they can learn how to accept money, if it's cash, chip, learn how to do payments, and then they're also selling themselves. They're out, we're working. So it's all aspects of the job too. It's from the literally creating the thing and then going out in the community and selling it. So I'm super excited about the rug tufting personally.
One of the other things for some of our, because I know I can almost feel the energy from the parents listening. Okay, well, I'm not sure if my kid could do rug tufting. Well, if the functionality of the child, because we have our transitional living kids here, we're also going to be making our own spice racks. So we looked at the entire gambit of the social, emotional, and behavioral issues that we have with our kids. So it's not just kids that are neurotypical that we're giving these work availabilities to, or experiences to, but it's also for our lower functioning kids too, because we want them to be successful in society.
Correct. There's something for everybody to do,
Yes.
whether it's the dry freezing, so when the candy comes out, it has to be weighed on a scale, and then it has to be put into bags, and the bags have to be sealed. That's someone's job. Then
Correct.
someone has to clean up. Someone has to do, there's literally something for everyone to do. If you might not be into rug tufting, okay, that's fine, but you can glue the back of a rug.
Exactly.
There's something for you to do. There's the spicing. You can weigh. I mean, you can pour into this. You can do that. There's
Exactly.
literally something for everybody to do.
And we're giving back. It's another way to be a small business that gives back to our local community. That's one of the biggest things that we've always been advocates for, is making sure that we are putting resources back into your hometown. Guys, this is something that you can do in your community as well. This is just a stepping stone. We wanted to do this here in wonderful Brevard County in Florida, just to show other counties that our kids are valuable members of society. They can be valuable members of our workforce. So we're at the end of this episode. We need to give our families, because it's something, that we do now, is giving them tips or tricks before they go. So what tip or trick would you give to families that have junior high, middle school, high school students that may be neurotypical or neurodivergent?
Don't get too tied up in their first job. I took that one emotionally, I think, because I went there even on days that he was working as you could tell I was a psychopath, I would walk by the window with my camera and be video him working, making subs. Be like, look at him, he's making subs, look how good he's doing. So personally, when the job was lost, I also took it like I lost my job. I was like, no, what happened? So I think it is a first job. Like, and then looking back, like like my first job was nonsense, and I just probably walked off, So but I was so hurt for him because I know he was trying so hard. It wasn't like he didn't care. So don't take it personally when they lose their first job. We all lost our first job. So be patient, be kind, and give the same patience and kindness to your children as you do to others.
Absolutely. And moms and caregivers, what I would say to you is do not judge your student or child at face value. Just like we had mentioned, our students are completely different people when they're not around mom and dad. So sometimes the dependency that you see in your children is because they're master manipulators. And they know, just like Loki did, how to milk mama. They know exactly what to do and what to say to get you to come in and be the helicopter mom and dad or caregiver to fill in the gaps and take care of it for them. Remember, we need to step in and show them that they can do this on their own. And if you need help, we're always there for you. So families, from our couch to your couch, come back to Pam and the Purple Couch podcast. Make sure you hit the like button and subscribe so that we can help you fill your toolbox with tools from our couch to yours. Until next time, see you soon.